Yes, all you. Good, bye now. Good evening, we call to order the Board of Trustees work session for July 10th, 2023. First item on the agenda is 1519 East Main Street.
Evening, Mayor, members of the trustees, staff. My name is Neil Alexander with Parker, Cuddy and Baker law firm. To my left is Bobby Patel, who's the principal and the applicant, and we were forwarded. Well, I guess we could start from there. We took to heart all the things that were said at our last meeting. We were with you, and we, through Anthony's office, had the opportunity to work with Hudson Engineering. We saw their July 6th letter back to him and to you all, and so I think we've made a lot of progress, and I think we're moving in the right direction. I guess you'll pretty much tell us how far along well we've moved relative to the stormwater issues, which I think were the last open aspect when we met when we had your executive session. Back in that.
Tony, is everything complete?
Yeah, there still need to finalize stormwater, but it's nothing that we can't work through. Going back and forth, and then after this, they would need to go back to the zoning board for their final variance, and we need to work out the landscaping. But you know, they're in agreement that we'll work that out with our arborist and TAC to come up with a landscaping plan that everyone's happy with. I think those are the 3 points that are outstanding. We referred it to Westchester County and got their typical comments back.
Yeah, I just, make sure that the site plan is complete, because the zoning board was adamant about they wanted to have a complete site plan before it goes to them. So you don't want to leave here, get to them, and it's not complete, you have to come back again. So just making sure.
You know, agreed. And I think the only reason, the way the landscape condition is written, like, not only do we agree with, but it also leaves us room, because I think there's third-party regulators that we just don't know 100% where they're going to stand on some of that, but we're willing to abide by them and by you all.
Recording in progress.
Dan, has the applicant seen this?
Yes.
Do you have anything? Inside the conditions that we're waiting for, anything else?
No, everything else has been addressed, it's, we're planning before you incorporated, what you saw at the last meeting with full details.
Administrator, any questions?
Sure.
Please, Commissioner? And any other? Trustee Henry, any other questions? Trustee Paul, questions? Trustee Evans, any questions? Trustee Henry, okay for the agenda? Trustee Coffey for the agenda? Yes. Trustee Evans for the agenda? Okay, we'll put on the agenda in a second. Thank you. 125 East Main Street. Yeah, go ahead. You're gonna move to one from,
White light.
thank you. That was nice to find out right across the street.
That was
Yeah.
what you need about like that probably.
Okay, we look and tell us what you want to do.
Good evening, my name is Steve Seacon, the last and last. Showroom. This is car is old, religious Chinese store. And this for orientation, the front comes across East Main. On the south corner of Front Street. We're proposing to add approximately 4,500 square feet to the north side where there's a parking lot right now. Shift the entrance to the parking lot and basically use what was the religious store area for motorcycle retail, display and showroom. And then use the back part offering with storage and with some administrative offices. The idea, you noted, Triumph is across the street, also owned by the same owners. And there's some other logistics that they share in common. So this is an ideal site for them. And we're also before you, and I also discuss the parking, for which we are seeking a waiver of 3 spaces. What should be noted, however, is that we have a dedicated parking lot built to the south island.
Right across the street.
So there's 6 off-site parking that are dedicated to up for the short form. Additionally, there's 4 motorcycle spaces. They're also not included in the parking palette. So we hope that all these parking spaces get filled, but there's also,
You took my line of it.
but there's ambulance as well. So, the other part is just basically trying to keep in the spirit of Indian partnership, corporateship, the identity of red trim, some field stone that's kind of tan in color, and then also some of the sort of terracotta stucco. It's a well run organization, and they have the ability also to warehouse nearby. That's a very limited impact in the the buffer in the back, we're going to replenish some of the trees and so forth that gotten a little bit higher in the old pruning. So we're proposing some additional planting on the north side. In terms of stormwater, it's already entirely impervious. What we'll be doing is connecting to an existing storm line, close to the municipal sewer. And
Trustee Henry, any questions?
Yeah, I have question about the frequency. But we're required to perform exactly what part of the structure was. Under 21 fire suppression.
Now, that's a general note, but under project code summary there, and I haven't reviewed the calculations yet, but they fall under the sprinkler requirement by square footage. And it's a fire rated construction.
Testing, sorry. Just testing the microphone, is that too loud?
So it's,
Sorry, Tony.
it's fire rated, protected fire rated construction, but it doesn't require a sprinkler, and I will check that calculation. I don't believe the building across the street is sprinkled either.
You can do a repair shop.
It's not a heavy duty thing, it's really.
I was not happy with the fact that across the street does not have sprinklers either.
Wasn't required. I mean, the maintenance that is really being done is more like prep for people who are getting their bikes. It's not like major engine reconstruction, hazardous fuel in the door. It's not really the purpose of that's there.
I'd like to go on record that I'm not happy with that. Well, I haven't.
Trustee Evans? Administrator? Council?
Just reading what the deputy Henry said about the norm sprinkle. Whether or not it's a middle mechanical or not, just the fact that it was done in the business, there may add one or two being fixed, being prepped, represent an issue and the problem and the danger, not only to us, but also to the occupants at that point.
Technicality, it's not required. Already having jurisdiction. Well, no.
And can I also make another observation? The area above. This might give just a little bit more comfort. So if we pretend that we're slicing the building in section. Down here would be, this is East Main, as you know, French kind of descends to the north. So the height above the area where they'd be doing the prep is approximately 18 feet high. So again, much diminished hazard in terms of any kind of combustion. It's non-combustible construction to be mentioned. So everything's going to be fire.
What's the type of reconstruction?
The intent
What's the roof construction?
will be open with doors.
Metal jacket.
That's above the office space.
Correct.
Want to take 2 minutes to go show the council. Thanks, Corey, thank you.
So, sir, would you be willing to just the air portion of the structure? Would you be willing to install a sprinkler system there? In just that section?
We're not required, we would rather not.
I mean, I know you'd rather not. I mean, I get that part. But in the name of safety, is that something you'd be willing to consider?
Willing to consider, sure. Yeah. By code without requirement.
No, that's why, no, I agree with you. Hence why I was trying to get the angle of just in light of the concerns that my colleagues have raised in terms of the safety aspect of it. And considering it would just be that one session when repairs would take place, if that would be something really well.
Just to make it clear, I mean, it's very light wear and kind of work. Now, we've been in our warehouse for the past 8-9 years, I've never had it, yeah, it's most comfortable. I've been up the street for 5 years, it's been an issue there. The building that we're moving Indian from, it's been there since 2012 as well, so it's never been a single issue. We try to keep the operations as clean as we possibly can, so that the yearly inspections. Never been an issue with inspection. Really rather not require it.
Anybody else, any questions? Yep. Trustee Henry, think of the agenda? That's one. Trustee Coffey?
Yes.
Trustee Evans? 251 East Main Street, from here. Okay, Councilman Ronda.
Good evening, Mayor Williams, trustee, and Chuck Patrick, I'm senior associate with the firm of Langland Engineering, representing the Premier Collection today. The owners of 251 East Main Street. Here with me is Tom Chris, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that might come about after our presentation. It's not terribly complicated. It's an existing retail building. You all know it was the Bed Bath & Beyond. Our application is asking for a change in use from that retail to a car dealership. The intent is to have two franchisees. I don't know if I got that quite right. Two dealerships, one's going to be Mazda, and the other is undetermined at this time. But that's the intent, to have two in this space. Plus, they're going to move their headquarters to this facility from their Mount Kisco area. So it's going to be a pretty significant increase in the number of people that will be here. I think the projection now is somewhere between 75 and 100 new jobs that will be out of this facility when it's up and running. So that's the use change. The site plan amendment part of this is pretty straightforward. We are creating an opening represented on the site plan that allows this new type of service where you bring the car inside of the building. You're greeted, someone takes it away after they've taken your order. So by closing a point at which you can get into this building and then exit it. It does reduce the number of existing parking spaces by around 20 or so, but the requirement for this use is 109, and there's almost 300 spaces on this site. So it's not a parking issue. And then the other thing that's being proposed as part of this is gates to be able to isolate the parking and the cars at all hours. Safety primarily is that purpose. And there are gates that are very similar to the Land Rover next door, sliding gates. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And that's really the application. The working with Mazda right now to finalize what they want. These dealerships are a little picky about what the outside looks like and the colors, but they're in the process of doing that. And Tom will be back with the architect for the architectural review part of it. But we wanted to make sure that we were on good ground with the use change. That's why we're trying to move that forward tonight. And that's really the extent of our application. I'd be glad to answer any questions. There's not much engineering to this. The water services are staying the same as they are. They're going to retrofit the existing sprinkler system for the new spaces. We've got a minor reduction in impervious areas, so there's really no stormwater management being proposed or necessary. So there really aren't a lot of technical engineering issues that go along with this proposal either. Like I said, when I started, it's pretty straightforward. But again, be glad to answer any questions anyone might have.
If I can add to that, they've also agreed to do the sidewalk, the last link, on Main Street between Burger King and their other facility. And do the stamped concrete and sidewalk there to match the rest of it. Along that, in front of that parking area.
Yes.
Gates, they can be locked in more hours, the fire department has to report. Is there a way they can open them, get them open?
How do they handle the Jaguar Land Rover?
Knox box.
Still fine. We do the same. These aren't going to be automatic, so they've got to be.
Also, I mean, if it's, we'll move them out of the way.
That's the other option, which. No, the knock boxes. And then,
You know, how many things they're pretty deep to the.
You mentioned about 75 new jobs. Is dealership one of them new, or is it when moving from a different location?
It's a new point.
Different one.
Okay. And the headquarters, we have about 30, just right now, 30 places coming in.
With the space, is it just gonna be 30, or it's gonna be the entire for HQ, or is it just the dealership that's gonna be the proximity job creation?
Well, we're gonna have 30 employees coming down that are existing in hopes of growth, so that'll get added on. So it's, you know, I'm thinking close to 100 when it's all said and done.
you know, that's a combination of existing jobs and new jobs from the new dealership.
We didn't put in the streetlights in front of, your place because of the, brightness of the building, but there's some dark spots there, so, you can put in a few of the overhead arm lights for us in some locations.
Yeah, your street plan has a light fixture type.
Right,
We'd be glad to
yeah, we just
put in
wanted,
the appropriate spacing along
yeah, we
that
just
section.
want to hit a few more like under the bridge a little bit. A couple of arm lights and stuff like that, just no poles there, but like there's some light there.
Okay.
And we'll just figure out what to get a little bit.
We did a great job with the sidewalk.
Does it start from Winthrop Avenue to Burger King? There's no, I mean, there's some lights on Con Ed, we made it put them in, for Jaguar, we made it put them in, you know, some of that, but your buildings have a lot of light from the buildings. But there's a couple of dead spots, and we'd like a couple on lights, but it. And we can just break up that street a bit.
Agree to that, and we can work with,
Yeah,
only to get the right areas and fill that.
there's only a few, it's just a couple of dead spots that are really dark and walking on the sidewalk is, like, it would actually benefit your employees too, because in the wintertime, they're leaving at 4:30 to start. And they're walking along that dark section there to get to their car, so I agree, it would definitely help.
Understand.
To the best of your knowledge, you know, if there's any plan to have electric vehicles in on the premise?
Seems to be the wave of the future right now.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Does Mazda have one? Yeah, Mazda, I don't know.
If they have it, it's available in California.
They just came out with a hybrid.
All right.
Yeah, they might just came out with a hybrid.
I'm sure you're going.
Okay, what's the status of that? property structure that they have.
There's an access easement for that intersection that exists. With the property.
It's not. That's beyond. That's the problem.
Understanding what was the building.
The third party owns that entrance. And both properties have an easement for access. For the building exit for the repair garage is on Chester. On the side.
The loading dock is.
Yeah, just if you see it says exit,
Yeah.
it's below, yeah. But the ramp will be inside the building and then you come out of it.
Generally just like a garage door. And so the pavement goes right up to the building in both the locations down.
Like the old house.
So, yeah, it's not very impactful.
Administrator, any questions? Council?
No.
Tony, any other questions? Okay.
Well, I mean, the only concern obviously is, as Trustee Henry said, is the EV perspective of that. And any, with the sprinklers and the fact that these vehicles burn hotter when they catch fire. Are there any plans for changing any of the flows for sprinklers or any of the lifts? I believe in your other ones, you have sprinklers built on the lifts.
And we have above and below.
Correct.
Cars. But I think from a fire standpoint, I don't think we. I mean, I've been talking to fire chief and about what to do with an EV fire. Nobody's really come up with.
Well, yeah, nobody has a great answer.
Yeah,
It's just a
nobody has a
lot
great
of, it's
answer,
just
yeah.
a lot of water right now.
Right.
But obviously something in a confined space like that, more the water the better. And the sprinkler is gonna try to hold it at bay until we get there. So would you still be doing the lifts with the sprinkler?
No parking. That's welcome.
No parking lots.
Just service less.
Do they have to change the volume of water flow for EVs in the code at all right now for sprinklers?
They're coded behind on that. There's no mention of it yet.
I think the other thing you did at the other building, you have the airflow to suck the air out, the vent system.
That works well.
Yeah,
We'll do that as well.
and you're gonna do that,
Yeah.
and also the CO alarms.
Mhm.
We've had a couple incidents where they left the car running and we had high levels of CO.
Yes. So yeah, we'll do the same thing.
That was my pet peeve.
Yeah. We actually did manual switches so you guys can come
Yes.
in.
Yeah, that would be helpful too. Do a manual switch.
Any other questions? Does he have any questions?
Not a question, just an observation with 75 to 100 new jobs that have been being created. It would just be great, to see, those in our Elmsford community, highly considered for those roles. Just, you guys, coming in that space, it would be great. I mean, what you're replacing there, you would often see members of our community, working there. So it would be nice to see that.
Does he have the agenda? Yes, sir. Trustee Bobby?
Yes.
Trustee Evans?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forty North Goodwin Avenue, solar panel?
The flat pitch of the roof and the height of the house here, it's can't really see the panels from the road to do a rendering, but they showed an aerial view. We understand what it's like.
Very good project they have.
Trustee Henry here for the agenda. Trustee Coffee. Trustee Evans.
There's another project that I have for 35 Hillside. I was wondering if that was up next or something like that.
That's next.
All right, solid.
Trustee Henry, okay? Trustee Coffee. Trustee Evans.
Thank you.
Did everybody, put enough at 125 East Main Street, what their plans before with, the G architecture? Thing? You don't have to sit. 321 East Main Street.
So,
Like,
um,
tell us what you want to do with the sign.
so I'm looking to put up a sign, it's by AC, on the corner of, Norwood Road and Terrytown Road, with the black sign that says dance studio. It'll light up.
And we want to put on one side of the building, not the other side.
Yes, sir.
Is there a box there now it's going in, or you just put the whole frame thing up?
In the box.
There's a box. Makes it easier. Trustee Coffee?
Yes.
Trustee Evans?
Yeah, issued this week.
22 South Lawn?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. We're looking to build a single family home on 22 South Lawn. It's very different than a black and white house. And remarkably similar to 35 South Hillside and 3 South Waterman. They also have small, 5x8s if you need to see them. Like those. Sure.
What's in that bump out in front of the living room?
Yeah, that's, it's like a living room and den. Been used for lots of. But it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
Modular?
No, this is site built. Mine is modular, 35 house, South Hillside is site built. But this will also be site built. Too many wires.
That never stopped you before, come on. Just made a little challenge, that's all. Lightweight cross?
No trusses at all.
Oh, good.
All dimensional lumber.
It was helicopters. Ask him about that.
Watch that. No, you were there. I was there.
Me too.
It's a good day.
Yes.
My wife asked if she could come that morning and I said, yeah. She's thinking to go really good or really bad. So it's a good day.
I actually have pictures.
Me too.
Is the modular cheaper on assessments?
It depends on how you set it up.
For you to build, put a modular.
Not really.
I had no idea.
Well, it's, by the time you're through with the crane, set through your wires, and if you want to set it up, like, I don't like to use truss construction in that model, I like to use dimensional lumber, but I also like to use. I use certain areas. So by the time you're done with that, it gets to be almost the same as a site.
Trustee Henry? Trustee Coffee?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Evans?
Thank you.
Welcome. 24 Winthrop Avenue?
The first sheet The way they were folded, 4 of 5 is the existing and 5 of 5 is proposed. So the second page is proposed out. So he's proposing a black roof with a gray hardy plank siding.
Yeah, that's. Color the siding and stuff with it.
Yeah, this is the color of the.
No, that's a roof, because yeah. Just pass it, sort of. Trustee Henry, okay? Trustee Coffee?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Evans?
I got no room in my house.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll be back. Okay. All right. Take it easy.
So the June VLC, started off with a presentation about curbside recycling, food scrap recycling from Scarsdale. And then he went into everything that they do. They've been picking up, curbside food scrap for a long time. They bought a new truck. It's a smaller truck. It's obviously they don't need a big truck for that. As you know, the villages of all, they're talking about partnering and trying to do that with the town, but we realize the town is too big and it's probably not gonna work, so we're still gonna try and figure out some ideas on how to do that locally, either by ourselves or with other municipalities in the VLC. The firefighter exemption is something we did already, but Orton and Dobbs just adopted theirs, so. This bias training, as you know, is going to be scheduled for the end of the month, and everybody has to take that. We split the cost between all of us for the training, We now start, and everybody will be trained within the villages and be held in Tarrytown. Tarrytown had an issue with where to place banners and signs, so they wanted to know where everybody else does. They have 3 locations that they put them in, and they were having issues on what people could say on signs and where they put them. So they just asked everybody what they do. Social media, one of the municipalities had some of their volunteer committees posting stuff without going through the village. So everybody agreed that it has to go through the village because it just branches of the village. So before they do any posting, any volunteers, committees and stuff like that, has to go through the village. If they're a branch of the village representing, they can't speak for the village board has to do that. So they brought up leaf blowers again, and every municipality has different policies. It's the same thing that, what the problem is the river towns, as we keep saying every year, the landscapers go from one to the next and the policy is different from each one, so they get so confused. They were trying to get together to make one uniform one, but that isn't working. They all have different ideas. There was a discussion about the Greenberg assessments. Obviously, everybody said it's not fair, but we all went to the Greenberg assessment, so. Doesn't include us, but Route 9, they were talking about the engineering study that the DOT is doing for the bike lane from Sleepy Hollow all the way down to Hastings. Doesn't affect us, but they had that conversation on there. Then they had a conversation about the River Towns Chamber of Commerce. They have some trolley events where they take a trolley and go from village to village to village, a couple of stops in each one. And they either go dining or they go to different events and stuff, so they'll be doing that again. The add-on from Ardsley was 64 migrants were placed in one of their motels. There were children, couples, and singles from 18 different countries. Bus comes up 3 meals a day to feed them. There's a nonprofit on site to help them out. Ardsley is worried about getting overwhelmed down the road, because only a few months, but they were there in Ardsley, so they're hoping that somebody will step in and help them out. So they started all kinds of fundraisers for them, because when they got here, they had nothing. They didn't even have a toothbrush. So they got together with some of the local churches and they're getting toothbrushes and clothes and stuff like that to give to them. So, which is very nice, and feel bad for them. We hear the stories the mayor was telling that they literally walked here and now they got off the bus from New York City. So it's nice that they're helping them out. Some of the other things that some were very interesting. Get together with poor Brian, who's probably make him retire. The Scarsdale, they have things that are in place that are really easy, and some are a little. They have work recycling, battery recycling, which not the car batteries, but the little batteries which are allowed to go in the garbage, but they have a little container that goes in the village hall. People just drop batteries in there all the time. The paint recycling, which was very easy, eyeglass recycling, tennis ball recycling, cooking oil recycling, so they go on. So there was a couple in there that were very easy, so we'll get together with Brian and see if we can institute a couple of them. I went to visit a couple more of those Tiolis, they call it, it's take it or leave it, and they're very successful. And that's they open up from 10 to 1, and from 9 to 1, from 9 to 11 you can bring stuff, and then you stop, and then this way they don't get overwhelmed with stuff, and then from 11 to 1 is still open, and people are taking stuff, and people are dropping off stuff and picking up stuff all day long, and the shit never gets full. And I went a few weekends in a row, and it's really good, so it's something we should consider too. Down the road, it really worked well. I mean, I used to see all the people, come and go and dropping off stuff, then you're limited what you're allowed to bring. And you can't bring junk and garbage and stuff. You gotta bring stuff that people would take, so. We'll look into that. The paint recycling, even Mike got impressed with that one. It was real easy. They put a little bin up or a shed, and they provide these big containers. You just come put the paint in it and walk away. Nothing to it. So, again, it's something that's really easy. Years ago, or even up until now, you had to pardon the paint and it's allowed to go in the garbage, the kitty litter or speedy drive, something like that. But now they have these containers look like giant freezer almost, and they'll put them up, put the paint can in and walk away. And they come pick it up, so they don't have to wait. So I mean, these are things that are easy that, maybe we can institute, soon. Which would definitely help the residents, make Brian's gray area grayer, so. But I think some of them are easy, but it doesn't require any work from you, so hopefully we can, so make life easy. But it was a good presentation. From there. That's it. Anything? Well, to the ends.
Two things. The first one, there has to be a way that we can start saving paper on these packets. It's 2023, we got to figure this out. So are these documents coming to us in scanned format? Do we have to scan them when they get here? Somebody needs something on it.
Right now, I request 8 copies. One for each of you, one for me, and then I take 2 of yours to make my 3 that I need to issue the permit with. The one time, the short period of time where there were people out of the office, that I pretty much scanned everything myself, which is time consuming. So I can go one way or the other. I can ask the applicants to give me scanned documents or paper documents, but it gets complicated to do both. And if I get the paper and I scan it, that's like a couple hours.
Right.
Yeah, especially these bigger sets of plans. So if the board, I'm with you, and my office is stacked with this stuff. If I can do it all electronically, that'd be great, but it would have to be a concerted effort across the board, and not everyone. Me personally, when I review a set of plans, I tell people I need paper because my eyes are not good enough to view these things on a screen. But that would just be my copy. If the board wants electronic, I can get,
It's not gonna work unless everybody's doing it.
that's what I'm trying to say.
It's gotta be one or the other.
I plead with my colleagues to please consider this. True. Because well, I can't do it. I can't.
Makes a good booster seat for a kid.
All of them combined for sure. And so one other thing I need to gain some clarification and understanding on a recent village event. So we're going to ask a series of questions. Here, Mr. Mills, supposing board members, if you guys have any answers or any additional insight that would go along with the answers, just please speak up. On June 20th, was there a senior program for Father's Day barbecue?
Yes,
Did the barbecue require individuals to sign up prior in order to attend?
yes. Well, you don't have to, but they do. Most of them,
Was there any cost associated with attending the event?
no,
We're attendants were not required to pay.
it's in the budget. It's already budgeted for Father's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Mother's Day.
To the best of your knowledge or anyone's knowledge, were there any attendees at the event who were not residents of?
Yes,
Does anybody know the approximate number of attendees who were not residents of?
and from,
Is it correct that there was a Hispanic gentleman who inquired about what the event was? Who came to the event, didn't know what it was, and inquired?
yes, and they came through and stole food and I chased them down the street. Yeah, well, was like true.
Was
the plate for stole food.
Was there any cost associated with it? So nobody had to pay for anything?
Sorry.
Nobody had to pay for anything?
No, that's in the budget.
Right, did they ask any of the workers about the food? Or did they just,
They would walk right through. We thought they were there and all of a sudden they just walked right through and stole food and there was about 5 of them. I chased them.
how did they steal food if there was no cost attached?
Well, they just walked right. They weren't seniors. They weren't members of the senior group. There was people who parked their car, got out, we thought they were coming in, and all of a sudden he got online and we saw these people online, and then he put their plates and they started, instead of going out to the, sitting in the table, they ran down the street, so I chased them down the street.
So everyone that was there was a senior citizen?
Not all of our staff, no.
So the one individual that came, did he leave and then come back with individuals?
Ooh,
There were approximately 5 gentlemen
They were girls, so,
Okay. And they weren't part of the senior group. Did they all show up at the same time together?
yes.
So after they left in their vehicle, were they pursuing a village issued vehicle?
Yes and no. I drove to the other side of the park to go see them. No, we didn't chase them.
Were the emergency lights or sirens utilized?
Yep.
One or both,
Sorry,
were lights and sirens used or both?
siren, no, lights.
In light of lights and sirens being used, I think one of the reasons we assume that they were indeed being used by law enforcement for police stops. So that leads me to two questions. Under what authority, citing law, policy of the New York State Constitution, was that traffic stop an issue?
It wasn't a traffic stop. It was a gift from one side of the park, the other side, and as a police officer, a licensed police officer in the state of New York.
Citing New York State law, where does it state that police constables can initiate traffic
They
stops?
do a traffic stop. I drove from one side of the park, to the other side of the park, inside the park, never left the park.
Highlighting what my previous comment was, in light of lights being used, one would reasonably assume that they were indeed being used by law enforcement.
Like I said, I went from one side of the park, inside the village park, to the other side of the park.
So under what authority were emergency lights allowed to be used?
As a peace officer, to get from the other side of the park safely to the other side of the park without injuring anybody.
Counselor, does the law allow for police constables to utilize lights and or sirens with vehicles? What was the reason that these individuals were, I'll say again?
Sorry.
So it's because they got a plate of food, right? And were they forced to hand over money for the plate of food that they received?
Asked them, but they won't give any. I said, you know, this is a senior group, and they said to me, it's a public park, we're not paying for the food. And I said, well, it's a senior event, and you're part to be part of the senior group to receive that.
Were they village residents?
No idea. No idea.
This was concerning.
You're right, you gotta wait. People just walking into the park, and there's time unlock the gate. You're 100% right.
Concerning, I agree with you. The concerning part for me, and I'm thinking about this as an average citizen. As an average citizen, if I'm in my vehicle, and a vehicle comes up behind me,
No one came up behind them.
goes to the side,
Nope, no sign in the park,
lights and sirens in the park,
no sirens,
lights in the park,
someone run anybody over.
like in the car.
There were 65 people in that park.
I understand. But I'm thinking about this in the average citizen, right? Like, let's think about ourselves as average Joe. If I see a vehicle come up behind me, or behind me, move near me, lights near. Was the vehicle traveling at any point? No, the vehicle did not travel.
Nope.
So the lights came on to walk 60 feet.
60 feet,
Was there heavy traffic?
there were people in the park,
Was there heavy traffic?
there were people in the park.
Wasn't my question. Was there heavy traffic?
I wasn't on the street,
So the lights were necessary because
you want to run it over, want to make sure everything's
but the vehicle didn't move.
my car, not the other car.
A village issued vehicle moved. Am I
Yes,
correct?
from A to B, so I didn't hurt anybody in the park.
I'm
Did
following.
it for the last 42 years, and I'm gonna do it again next week if it happens again.
I understand. And
When you're trained in that, then you
when we're
understand.
moved from A to B, lights were used.
That's correct. And if you were trained in it, you would do the same thing. Not to injure anybody in your way.
And if this were 60 feet
I don't care
or
if
a
it's
short
5 feet,
distance,
if it was 5 feet or 100 feet, doesn't make a difference.
my point
Inside the
is,
park with people to safely get from one side
my
of the park to
point
the other.
is, this was unnecessary.
In your view, you weren't there and you're not a trained constable. You have no idea.
And my point is,
So you're wrong. Sorry, good taking note of it, but you're wrong. You're not trained in it. You don't know. You have no
you
idea.
know what I do know? I'm gonna say what I do.
Okay, you know what you want. So you do know.
I'm gonna tell you exactly what I do know. What I do know is that this is not how we treat. What I do know is.
Didn't treat anybody. I didn't treat anybody except for driving across the parks. I didn't run anybody over. Now, if I didn't do that, and I ran people over, you'd be saying, how come I ran people over and didn't warn them? Okay, it had nothing to do with the people that were stealing the food. It had to do with the safety of the people in the park.
Distance is not sure. No.
Sure, I was at the playground and I went all the way to the big gate. That's more than 60 feet.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
My point is. This was not needed for your food.
Yes, it
For their food.
It was 5 plates of food to ask people, how come they came in the park and stole food?
At the end of an event.
Okay. But there's nothing, they're not seniors.
Neither were a lot of people there as for you said.
No, I said our staff.
Right,
Right.
they were not seniors.
Yeah, 2 of them. Well, that's not 55 years old.
Okay, that's my point.
Okay.
So,
I don't even know if they eat, because I didn't eat. Now it's here. No, thank you, but you're wrong.
I respect what you're saying.
No, it's okay.
But when I
Thank
have,
you, but you're wrong.
but when I have village residents who are concerned about what they witnessed,
That's fine.
okay?
That's fine. They definitely found a piece of.
And
This is what to do.
And in this environment, that easily, because I'm gonna say right now, that was me, that was a form of intimidation.
It was intimidated nobody except to keep people safe from going from one end of the park to the park. right?
I'm telling you how that can
That's
be.
fine.
I get that.
But so you're taking,
Got it.
you're the third part of the story. It's my side, their side, your side, and everybody else's
I
side.
don't know.
Okay, yes, you do, because you're stating something that you did not see. You're taking stories from somebody else's, did not see it, did not know it, okay? I drove from one side of the park, the other side, put the lights on as a trained peace officer in the state of New York for 42 years to safely get there without harming anybody in the park, and I will do it again. Okay, it wasn't to going after the person, it was to make sure that the people were safe in the park. That's what we do. That's what we're trained to do.
Because,
Okay,
you know
that's what we're trained to do.
I'm very confident it could have safely been done without violence.
It could have been, but you weren't there and you're not trained on, so you don't know what it is.
Pretty confident.
You not there, were you there? Were you there? Were you there?
God, I wish
Were
I
you
was.
there?
God, I wish I
Yes or no? Answer my question.
was.
There you go. Thank you very much. When you were there, you can place judgment on something when you witnessed it yourself.
This is not judgment.
It is judgment, because you're not right. If you were there and we did something, fine, but nothing, it was nothing, different.
Well, it should somewhat strike you if those in this community upon which we serve are reasonably concerned about what they do.
We come in, I'll talk to them.
So,
I'll be more than happy to talk to them.
so the response.
But when I got back, the response was totally different from what you're talking about. The response was,
No, sir,
did you
I
talk to those people?
I understand. That was the response that you got.
And so did everybody else.
And I need the record to reflect
And
the
so did
fact
everybody
that,
else.
that in all likelihood, the reason why those individuals who were concerned, wait a minute, who were concerned, did not approach you in that moment, in that manner, is because they were probably a little hesitant, because they were afraid that this was the response.
The response would have been the exact same thing at all.
But this, that was.
Exactly what I was told anybody. Okay.
Not
Did what I was
matters.
trained to do, to safely do something that I'm trained to do.
And I'm going to do what I was elected to do, which you represent interests of the people that are out there. And if
Nobody-
they're concerned about something,
Very noted thing.
I wasn't done.
I didn't say that. I said very noted
If,
thing.
if they're concerned out there
That's good.
and multiple people approach me, I have an obligation and the responsibility
did.
to bring that.
And you did. And you did. And I thank you for that. Thank you for that. If you're gonna keep talking about the same thing, are you gonna keep talking about the same thing?
I'm gonna recite from the dictionary, we're doing with that.
Go ahead, because I'm gonna keep answering.
I have a responsibility to bring their concerns and not only bring their
And you
concerns,
did.
but determine the validity
Mhm.
of their claims. And that is exactly what I've done in this moment, and that is what I'm going to do going forward from this point, and I do.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much for bringing it up. Administrator, work session. Council. Commissioner. No, no. Motion to close the work session. Roll call.
Trustee Henry. Aye. Trustee Clark. Aye. Trustee Evans.
Aye. Please rise and follow me, pledge allegiance.